Hello, my name is Naila. I am 11 years old and live with my parents in a large house in Schillerstrasse. Recently, I've been walking home with Leon after school. Here in front of the house, he told me that his family will probably have to move away soon. His parents have trouble with the lessers. They want to throw them out. Leon looked pretty sad. Then I had an idea. My mum works in a social counselling service, so I told her about Leon. Mum listened to everything and promised to talk to Leon's parents. Maybe my mum can help them. But how?
People who cannot pay their rent often come to our place for getting social counseling. In these cases, it doesn't take long until an apartment is gone. People who do not pay their rent are often in a difficult situation. They lose their jobs, get sick, or have other problems. But no matter how bad it gets, it is important to get help quickly. Last week, for example, the Struck family came to my place for counseling. The father has lost his job. The mother, who works as a saleswoman, doesn't earn that much. Therefore, sometimes there was just not enough money to pay the rent. After all, the Struck's family's rental contract was terminated. Mr. Struck borrowed money from his grandmother and paid off a part of the rent immediately. He pays the other part of the rent that he owes in small amounts monthly. This was arranged with the lessers. If, like the Strucks, you pay the money as quickly as possible after you receive the rental termination or agree on installments, you can keep the apartment.
If the tenants do not pay the debts, the lessors can require the tenant to vacate the apartment. For this purpose, the lessors submit an action of eviction to the court, so that the court allows them to throw the tenants out of the apartment. The court sends this action of eviction by post to defaulting tenants. From now on, the clock is ticking. You still have 2 months to pay the rent you owe.
Amadou Nkonge came to me with such an action for eviction. Unemployed and without savings, he didn't know what to do next. Together we asked the job center for assumption of outstanding rent areas. That was embarrassing for Mr. Nkonge, but the job center employee was very nice. She explained to him exactly which documents the job center needed. The job center took over the rent areas after Mr. Nkonge had gathered and handed over all the documents. Now he pays the whole sum back in small amounts every month. And the job center transfers the money directly to the lessor, that such a situation doesn't happen again.
Mr. Nkonge took advantage of the 2 months deadline and reached an agreement with the lessor. Unfortunately, many people do not succeed. Then the court issues an eviction order. The eviction order allows lessors to throw defaulting tenants out of the apartment. All the resulting costs, such as for the court or lawyers, have to be paid by the tenants. With the eviction order, lessors can send a bailiff to the tenants. A bailiff is allowed to collect debts in person. He can also reclaim an apartment and force tenants to leave it. Once the eviction order has been issued, there's only one way to save the apartment. You can still reach an agreement with the lessor.
That was the case with Miss Atai. She lives with her daughter Mira, caring for children, going to work, and all the complicated paperwork was simply too much to deal with on her own. At some point she was unable to go on and gave up. So one day the eviction order was there, right between all the unopened letters. I was able to arrange a meeting with the lessor. Luckily, this older lady was really nice. She was surprised that Miss Atai didn't respond to a reminder. Then we were able to arrange for her to pay a little more than her rent per month, so she pays off some of her arrears monthly.
Without an agreement with the lessors, tenants will lose the apartment after getting the eviction order. Sometimes, however, you can still gain valuable time. For example, if people are old or disabled, they are given special protection. You can apply to the court for an eviction deferral. These people should submit the application as early as possible, especially at the hearing before the court. If the court agrees, they can stay in the apartment a little longer.
As with the old Mrs. Ditskin in a wheelchair from the neighboring house. After her husband's death a few years ago, she stayed in the shared apartment. Last year, her rent was increased significantly. Although she didn't have enough money to pay the rent, she called for assistance and support much too late. One day, she found an eviction order in her post. But I was able to get an eviction deferral for her. Now she has 9 months to look for an apartment that she can afford.
But unfortunately, there are still too many people who lose their housing involuntarily. Some of them come much too late for advice. They should come right away after they notice that there were problems with paying the rent. If they come too late, there's nothing we can do.
For example, there is Konrad Kelz. 5 days before the eviction date, he was standing in front of my desk and wanted me to help him. All we could do was just trying to make the best out of his situation. In order to prevent the whole eviction getting even more expensive, we advised him to empty the apartment himself and to open the door at the eviction date. Otherwise, the bailiff does this, and it will be expensive. In addition, Sozialamt, the social welfare office, has provided him with a temporary accommodation, so he doesn't have to stay on the street. Now I'm helping him to find a new apartment. I don't think it's going to happen to him again.
Great what my mum can achieve with her work, and it's a pity that many people can still be thrown out of their apartments. I think it's unfair, because if you lose your apartment, you lose your home. But I'm happy that Leon and his parents will stay in their own home. My mum and her team were able to help them.
If you need any help, you can find the Housing Emergency Service online. The web address is www.wohnungsnotfallhilfe.de.